Now, following the disastrous meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, staffers in the White House were attempting to figure out how to fix it, especially after outrage from both sides had poured in. Now, Gabriel Sherman of Vanity Fair wrote about this. He said that after the criticism began rolling in, Trump, his shock at said criticism ended up turning into some anger, or a lot of anger. In fact, one Republican close to the White House told Sherman, quote, he was enraged. There is a lack of people out there defending him. How dare you not defend me? What are you doing? All I was doing, I was just trying to be, nice to Putin because I have such a good relationship. I want a good relationship with Russia. How can you not defend me? Well, how can you defend what's basically the indefensible? Look, for 8 years, we listened to Republicans say President Obama was on an apology tour because he was trying to make nice with other nations, especially after the debacle that was the George W. Bush administration, which decided to, against all norms, international norms, go and invade Iraq on our own. So Obama's like, hey, man, look, that was the past administration. That sucked. We're a little bit different. Yeah, on that kind of issue, yes. But under the Obama administration, instead of open warfare, we did have drone warfare. Now, we still have drone warfare under President Trump, and it's actually far worse. So, but I have to give you context because what Obama did is he did continue to keep the expanded military state. And Trump, of course, you give somebody like Donald Trump the keys to that, he's going to use them. He's going to use them. But anyway, now, as far as the context goes and why I'm bringing that up, is look, the Obama apology tour, I listened to Republicans for 8 years talk about that, and now we've got this, which is worse than an apology tour. This is our president basically bending the knee to another country's president. Now, I understand diplomacy, right? I get what diplomacy is. This doesn't seem like an example of diplomacy, especially considering what our intelligence agencies, what Trump's own intelligence agencies, I should say, are telling him. Besides, look, if you're one of Trump's supporters and you voted for him because you thought it was tough, he's going to be tough, right? Well, to be fair, he was tough on our allies, but not so tough on people like Kim Jong-un, Rodrigo, Duterte. For some reason, I can't think of his first name. That's, of course, somebody who has murdered a lot of people in his country, the Philippines. And then, of course, you also have Putin, which he seems to have a lot of deference for. But anyway, what happened to being tough? You talk about how you want your president to be tough, right? Well, for some reason, Putin is the one guy Trump refuses to be tough on. Kim Jong-un, he was very tough on Kim Jong-un, almost insanely so, and I remember criticizing him for calling him Rocket Man. So you might want to, I was like, hey, look, dial that down, right? But as far as Putin, can't say a negative thing about him. Can't even go and put on the sanctions, or I should say enforce the sanctions that Congress overwhelmingly voted to put on Russia. Weird. And look, to clarify, of course, and I shouldn't have to do this every time, but I do. Being tough doesn't mean war, okay? So there's this whole thing of tough being synonymous with launching missiles at things. No, that's not what tough means. War is actually the domain of the weak. I'm not saying the people who are sent off to fight it are weak. What I'm saying is that the politicians who would rather drop bombs than solve problems diplomatically, those are the people who are weak, right? Those are the people, like the people that depend on war and violence to solve their problems. That is weakness. And I'm not in favor of that. Now, anyway, moving on. How did the people in the White House feel about this? Well, among White House staff, Sherman writes, the mood was downright funereal. I'm guessing that's not good. Now, one Republican in frequent contact with the administration also told Vanity Fair, quote, "This was the nightmare scenario." Now, just the fact that this was actually considered before, and like, oh my God, what if he does this in this scenario? And then he actually does it, shows you how everybody knows Donald Trump is both an idiot and is possibly indebted to Putin somehow, or at least feels some sort of bro-like connection to Putin. I don't know what, and I'm just guessing. But anyway, let me go through some of his advisors, right? Let's start with John Bolton first. Now, Bolton, according to a source, thought Trump's remarks were ill-advised. He believed walking them back would only add fuel to an outrage pyre and make the president look weak. Well, to be fair, he already looks weak. He even undermined his own intelligence agencies. He's made the country look weak. And look, as far as the intelligence agencies go, look, the FBI and the CIA, they're not working for liberals. Okay, these are not liberal organizations. And so there's some frustration here, right? So I have some frustration for liberals that are like, no, the FBI and CIA are fantastic. And you need to listen to everything that they say because everything they're doing is 100% good and great. No. Look, let me give you some examples. They've targeted liberal groups throughout the years. They've targeted Martin Luther King Jr. And now, of course, they're going after a Republican administration. Now, that's got to tell you how bad this administration actually is. Now, to be clear, right, I don't trust our intelligence agencies on a lot of things. On this one, I think they might actually be right. So they can be both untrustworthy in a lot of different areas, but be right about this. And so what you need to do is you just need to be critical of what they say and examine things based on the merit. And look, I'm looking at all this stuff, and there just doesn't seem to be any reason why they would actually lie about this. But anyway, look, to me it seems fairly clear that Russia did attempt to hack our elections and disrupt our democracy. And that, of course, helped Donald Trump. Look, Vladimir Putin despised Hillary Clinton, despised the Obama administration for several reasons, because it actually hurt Russia's business interests. Whereas Donald Trump, incredibly friendly towards Russia's business interests. So, yeah. And it seems like, Donald Trump is hell-bent on bending over backwards to appease Putin. So, but anyway, while John Bolton was unhappy about this, here comes John Kelly. John Kelly was reportedly irate. According to a source, he told Trump it would make things worse for him with Robert Mueller. He also exerted pressure to try to get the president to walk back his remarks, according to three sources familiar with the situation. Kelly had called around to Republicans on Capitol Hill and gave them the go-ahead to speak out against Trump. So, understand, this is kind of how Republicans work, right? So, don't speak out against the president unless we give you permission. Now, if you speak out and we don't give you permission, well, then we're gonna attack you. We're gonna destroy you. But if we give you permission, well, then go ahead and talk shit, because what we need to do is we need to steer the president back. Because right now, what the president has done is he's kind of gone off track. So that's what they do. They're authoritarians. And that's what they did. Not long after, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Paul Ryan both held televised press conferences to assert that Russia did meddle in the election. Afterwards, Rand Paul, Sean Hannity, and Tucker Carlson, as well as some on the left, were the only ones that were in Trump's corner on this, as Republicans like John McCain, as well as supporters of the president like Maria Bartiromo, Newt Gingrich, and even the folks over at Fox and Friends were telling him, hey, Trump, you need to clarify your position. You need to do it now, because right now you're being a Putin bootlicker. Bring it back and actually be a little bit tough, because this is what they did. And so he ended up getting the message. Kind of. Now, according to former Trump campaign spokesman Jason Miller, he said, The president sent a very clear message that his worldview is in sync with his base and members of his party. Any of these other kerfuffles, if he had addressed it the next day, we wouldn't have had that many days of things like shithole countries, for example. Stuff that he decided not to come back on, but actually to double down on. Now, the thing is, I think either way Trump goes, he's still got his diehard supporters. I mean, I saw a poll earlier today where Trump supporters were like, no, I backed the president on his initial statements, and now I'm backing him on his revised statements. It's strange. Like, oh, no, Russia, no, didn't do that. Putin said so, right? Yeah, you get that fake news media, Trump. Later on, that turned into, when he backpedaled, oh, yeah, Russia meddled, but they didn't do any collusion. Trump said so. Take that, fake news media. Doesn't matter what they say. Diehard Trump supporters are never going to turn on the president. For the most part. Look, his staff already knows that he lies, knows that he's an idiot, knows that he's dangerous for democracy, knows all of that. But nonetheless, they still help him. They're still with him. Why? It's because he continues to do the same kind of policies that Republican politicians have been waiting years, sometimes decades to do. And these are the policies that are destroying America. And so that's why they stay with someone like Trump. They're authoritarians. And they bow down to power. And right now, unfortunately, Trump's got the power. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.